Welcome to the XY Advisor podcast. To join a global community of financial advisors sharing and learning with one another to drive the positive evolution of financial advice, head to xyadvisor.com. G'day, how's it going? What do you know, Striker Light? Nick Thabojan here from down in Melbourne, well and truly quarantined, mate. Hey, how's things down there?
Yeah, really good. We've had some brilliant weather down here, which isn't always usual for Melbourne, but we'll take it while we can.
One of the things I was chatting to an advisor about the other day was the fact that he's lost already a couple of clients during the last couple of weeks, literally just with them getting fired. And he's a sort of an outside of super, so from the bank account charging advice, and they just looked at him and went, "You're doing such a good job, but it's the first thing to go. It's the first thing on the chopping block." And then on the flip side of that, I've seen a handful of people get hired in the last week or two because they've had extra demand and too much work to get through. So where do you think the sentiment is out there in terms of not so much market volatility, because I think that's, we're all sort of used to that to a certain extent, but this sort of brand new environment that we find ourselves in where, a lot of people are getting rapidly, exited from their work. But at the same time, because of everything that's going on, more people are wanting advice. Where do you think sort of the market is sitting in general in terms of people coming in and out of advice?
I think it's interesting that in these sorts of environments and times, and probably the more recent one we had was the GFC, but in our world, we're seeing, plenty of demand from people needing advice and wanting advice. We're also seeing people that can't necessarily afford it, or they're seeking advice either because they've got opportunities or they want to take opportunities. And we're seeing people that want and need advice because they're in financial difficulty. So it is challenging. It's different to what we've been used to. How we've been managing that, if we've had existing clients, we've had existing clients, some who are in strong positions where they want to take the opportunity of investing, or which we've been talking about for a long time, and we'll probably talk about. There's plenty of people where we've been waiting for something like this to take that opportunity with some clients. There's a couple of our clients who have lost jobs and really can't afford to continue paying our advice fees. That's just the reality of it, right? So the way that the approach that we've taken is that we're doing it tough as an industry already, and not just in running a business, but also emotionally and with everything going on in the world we're in. But I think they still need us, and we know that that's kind of we want to do the right thing by them. So we will put our clients on fee holidays. On the flip side of that, as I said, we've had some clients where there's opportunities to provide further advice or do something further, whether they're existing clients or new opportunities. They need help, just some guidance, need to chat to someone to put them on the straight and narrow. Again, at a time when there's so much going on and advice is more important than ever. It's difficult, to do that, to say, don't worry about whether we're getting paid for this work or not. But if there's any time to where it's important, now's the time.
Yeah, wow. I've seen that kind of behavior, I guess, charging mentality from a few gyms and a few other sort of ongoing services where they're saying, look, just for the minute, we're going to reduce your fees or in some cases freeze it, rather than losing the client altogether. Some people are in that sort of situation, and it makes me wonder, I don't have my practice anymore, but I think, would I do that? Because I guess you're still accepting a decent amount of risk in having someone on as a client, and then if you're not being remunerated for the risk at all, let alone service, then it's a tricky position. If I think about what I would do, I would probably pause the client. But then again, I guess if you're pausing a client and you're not delivering, annual reviews and all these things, then there's a chance that you'll have to sort of pay back everything that was charged due to, the new rules that have come out. It's kind of a weird situation where advisors would probably really like to be able to bend and swerve and sway with what's happening in terms of coronavirus and people losing their job. But in a lot of ways, hands are tied. It's just, I guess, another way that this industry is just constantly getting in the way of itself. It's almost remarkable, I guess, if you think about what advice is from an advisor's point of view of where we are right now. We're like insanely overly legislated and rules and regulations. And a lot of it is, in a lot of ways, kind of superfluous. I mean, honestly, the regulators are just trying to get it to a situation where if people get advice, they end up in a better situation than not. But the chances of that happening now, the chances of someone finding a bad apple, so to speak, is probably lower than it's ever been. And yet we're in an environment that's more regulated than it's ever been. And situations like having to pay back fees after, say, 12 months of work just because one of the things wasn't ticked over, it's pretty crazy. And I think it's going to end up again in a sort of a lower quality outcome for advisors or for clients. And it's a massive shame. And I really wish it was a lot simpler than that. Are you still looking at bringing on new clients while we're in lockdown? Is that something that's still at the front of your mind?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We're not actively doing anything major, but we've got new inquiries and we're not knocking them back, and it's a challenge to keep up with it. But we're certainly trying to help those people, and balancing that with what we just spoke about in terms of putting clients on fee holidays or pausing them, or what do you do? I think that it is such a challenge, and we certainly won't be just helping people willy-nilly. There's going to be a point where you just can't do it. So I think we're just taking the approach of we're going to do our best. We're going to do the best we can, but it's not like we can just keep doing it forever and for anyone. And even putting clients on fee holidays, it might come to the point where we can't keep doing that as well. We're in uncharted territory. We're trying to do it from the perspective of as long as we can stay financial, and caring for other people, doing it out of love, just trying to get people through a situation that's really difficult. If we're stressed out about what's going on there, imagine people that have got no idea about managing money.
Yeah, look, it's a very strange situation. I mean, even the concept of talking about a fee holiday, wow, a couple of months ago, it would have been, something very unique that I wouldn't have even considered. And to sort of, hear about that's now an opportunity, I guess, to what we can do to keep clients on is, it just goes to show how strange the world is right now. Are you, if you're getting sort of a bit of inbound interest in terms of taking advantage of the market of what's happening now, do you have a bit of a process that just says, well, okay, these people probably don't need an advisor, but these people do need an advisor? Do you have somewhat of a filtering process to make sure you're only spending time on the people that actually would get value out of advice?
Yeah, so I guess we're sticking with the same process that we used, that we've been using whenever we get inbound inquiries. So essentially, we've got a starting point of where we're happy to talk to anyone, even if we know that they're not going to be clients. I guess it comes from the position of where I see us in a profession, where we're there to serve, and hopefully getting paid well to do that. But there's certainly an element of community service. It's not about weeding out the people that aren't going to be profitable or whatever. At a really minimum, point. So we'll offer, an initial call or chat with pretty much anybody, because we know that we're more than happy to do that, whether or not we're getting paid for it.
Yeah, right. There's so much interest in purchasing into the market right now that, Yahoo Finance, just funnily enough, I was just chilling out on the couch yesterday afternoon. I get a call out of the blue from Yahoo Finance. They're like, look, we're getting so much traffic asking about shares. Can you come on and tell people how to buy shares? And I was like, whoa, this is out of control. First and foremost, you do know that I'm no one of interest and no one's going to care that I'm on your thing. That's first and foremost. Second of all, the fact that people go from not knowing anything about the market to, I'm going to start purchasing a bunch of shares because it's discounted. I mean, it's a good starting point, but at the end of the day, you get yourself into a lot of trouble. And it's kind of like you either have money to lose, and if you have money to lose, you should definitely go see a financial planner. And if you don't have money to lose, then probably getting overly involved is not the best idea. When you talk to people and you sort of say, look, we may not be, because I'm just trying to figure out how to say this nicely as well to a bunch of people. But what's kind of the words you use to tell people if they don't have the income or the assets, then potentially getting involved with an advisor or getting involved even with the market by itself? How do you do that community service? Because it is a community service. I remember when I was in university and had my first sort of tax accounting job, and I was trading quite a bit, and I still didn't really know anything. I made a couple of bucks, lost a couple of bucks, but realistically, I had no business being in the market. It's kind of a weird topic, but I think it's one that we sort of need to approach at the moment, because the amount of people that have so much to learn and yet can't afford an advisor either through income or assets is probably going to be so large that this is a conversation that I imagine a number of advisors are going to be having. So what's one of the nicest ways that you let down someone nicely, I guess is probably the best way to put it?
I guess I'd frame it a bit differently, because I think the way that's something that's coming up right now where people want to take advantage of the market. If we go back to our extending on our initial client engagement process, this isn't, the right way or whatever, but this is just our way. And the way that we've structured our business is that for a client to be the right fit for us, we're not doing just transactional work or instruction-based work or superficial type work. And that's just a choice that we've made. The rationale behind that is that we know that if we work with clients on that basis, we can help them a little bit, but we know that if we work with someone at a much deeper level, then we can have a far bigger impact in their lives. So as a business, we've made the decision that we only want to do work that's deeply impactful in the lives of other people, is how I put it, which means that we say no to the superficial work as much as possible. Again, that's easy to say, but that's how we approach it, and that's our intent. What that means is that we don't start with goals when we're talking with clients, but we start with purpose, and we spend quite a bit of time. Firstly, we tell clients what I'm telling you. We tell clients this as well. So if you just want to buy shares, go and talk to a stockbroker, right? Or do it yourself, right? If you can do it yourself, do it yourself. We're not just starting with your goals. We want to understand what's important to you in life. We want to start with your purpose. The other thing that we intentionally do is we don't answer the questions that clients ask, because every client comes with, this is what I want to do, or these are the questions I have. But having done this for long enough, I know that the questions that they're asking may not actually be the right questions. So we definitely see our role as not just answering the questions that clients ask. It doesn't mean we're not going to answer them at all, but our role really importantly is to help clients find their own answers by asking the right questions.
Yeah.
So we want to ask them enough questions and engage them in such a way that they actually realize what the right answers are, not them coming to us with questions. So they might say, I want to buy shares because the market's cheap. that's not actually a purpose-driven question. So we take it back to what is their purpose, what's important to them, what are they trying to achieve, and help that will sort of get out of them what they need to do. And often that means, okay, maybe we shouldn't be actually buying shares right now. So I think for those experienced advisors out there, we know how to take clients on that journey where you don't have to tell them, what the hell are you talking about? There's no way you should be doing that. But letting them see themselves by asking them really good questions and then letting them see that for themselves.
Yeah, that's a much better way of framing it. I love that you start the conversations with purpose. I feel like that's kind of the pinnacle in terms of where I see financial advice is that what do you want out of life? And then let's use your cash flow to achieve that in the short term and then your assets to achieve that in the long term. Because, purpose often does change over time as well. So what you want now is probably different to what you want later in life. And sort of making sure that there's enough money to draw down later in life and you're not working to hit your purpose then as well is why you build assets. And so it's great to hear that sort of dialogue coming from an advisor. Do you sort of have a group of advisors that you share with on a regular basis, or how did you get your service offering to the point where you were comfortable? And that's kind of the question that I want to ask is, how did you become comfortable with asking these questions? Because they're obviously very deep questions. They're questions that most people never get asked in their life. And there's people are just so better adept at answering, what you did today, or like how was yesterday, or whatever. The questions that were answered, these superficial questions that were answered on a frequent basis. But this question, which is probably the most important question you get asked in your entire life, and now someone with a job called financial planner is asking these questions. How did you get comfortable, or who taught you how to do this? Like, how did you get to a stage where you said, actually, I want to do everything a financial planner does, but I want to make sure that I'm on the right path with this particular client from day dot, that we have a pretty clear trajectory, and then we can pivot as required. How did you get to that situation?
Yeah, good question. It's certainly not anything that I've come up with. It's absolutely been just learning, listening, reading, absorbing over quite a number of years. So I guess just a bit of history then. I mean, I started in the industry over 20 years ago while I was still studying, but started full-time, 2003, I think it was, in a small firm, maybe, 2003. 2004, I started with a company called the Money Managers, a guy called Kevin Bailey, who was, kind of one of the pioneers in financial planning. And I've got a lot of younger advisors on in the XY group who may not know of him and some of the others, but there's so much we can learn from some of these older guys, even if they were running different models to what we run now. And then our business, I became a shareholder in that business after a couple of years. We then joined, we were the largest firm to form part of Shadforth, for those who might know the business. So that was a national group. And I mean, I was really lucky in some of the people that were part of that group, the knowledge, the quality of advisors in that group, Shadforth. Yeah, I guess for some context, I left in a couple of years ago, just over 2 years ago, to start my own firm. And I guess some of that learning has come through all the different people that I've spoken to and learnt from. Probably, and that's just come from reading, listening, podcasts, really good stuff out of the US, all around the world. And I think probably the most important, very generalized thing that led me to doing that was, I guess, working with people like Kevin Bailey, where he was very much, we always question everything we do. We always try and improve what we're doing. We've always got something to learn. Nothing we do is always final, like we can always keep improving, which if you're in that mindset, then you're always trying to learn, trying to improve yourself. And that forces you to listen, learn, absorb from other people as things change, get different perspectives, which has helped to kind of frame a lot of the things that we're doing. Again, it's not perfect. We're working through so many different things, trying to improve what we're doing all the time still. But the idea of getting the confidence to be able to ask that, I guess, if you were a really good mechanic, right? Someone, and I don't know anything about cars, but if I took my car to the mechanic and he goes, buddy, this is what you need to do, and this is going to make your car run better, I'd just go, all right, cool, let's do it, right? For that mechanic to say that, and as long as he was a good guy and he was actually caring about me as a person, wanting to do a really good job, and he had honed his skills to the point where he was an expert in his field, then that would be the best outcome, and he would just do it with confidence. I think one of the things that sometimes we worry about because of public perception, because of media, because of all the, Royal Commission and all the stuff that goes on, and the negative connotation with financial planning, is that knocks our confidence, right? And even clients and markets, there's all these external factors. I think what's really hard, but what we have to try really hard to do is, as long as we're doing the right thing, as long as we care about the people we're looking after, as long as we've got the technical expertise to give good advice, then we should be totally confident. And I think if we're taking the approach of, I'm here to help this person achieve everything that's important in their life, and I'm totally confident that that is my intention, and we're going to do the right thing, and we've got the expertise to deliver it, then there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to confidently ask the client any question, and justifiably so. And I think when you're confident, that comes through to clients, and they actually appreciate it and again, it's sometimes it's hard because some clients are super, I just want to know the answer to that question, or I just want to know how I can save tax, or I just want to know that. But if you can push clients along past those superficial technical type questions into the realm of purpose, then they will appreciate it forever. If you can do it. Now, some clients you try to do it with and they will never go there.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's just the way it is. But other clients, the more you push, some get pushed away, but some will cross that line. And once they do that, they just go, I don't know what I used to do without you.
Yeah.
That's when you just have that relationship, and you're genuinely doing it to help them, and you're genuinely going to make a massive impact in their lives.
No, it's so true. I remember, that was one of by the time I'd sold my practice, if someone wanted to come on as a client, then we sort of had to go through a bit of I kind of put up a few hurdles, and one of them was, well, what do you want out of life? Like, what's your purpose in life? And the gravity of that question, watching it sort of, hit the client's face, it never got old. Sometimes it was how dare you ask me that? Sometimes it was wow, that's a massive question. How do I answer that? But then I guess it's framing it in a way you can sort of soften the blow different ways. You can sort of prepare them for the question that's coming. And it ended up becoming quite a skill just to be able to have the temerity to ask the question in a way that made people comfortable. I know a lot of my clients were, by the end, certainly by the time I'd gotten a little bit better at it, but I certainly wouldn't say I was the best at it. But just even asking that question was such a powerful part of my advice process that it became a key part of, it also made the job more enjoyable for me, I found, because if I understood my client better and I understood the reasons why I was giving this advice more deeply, then the conversations that would undoubtedly follow over the years were always easier, because I could always loop a certain small, let's call it a short time frame goal. Like, you spent too much here, but don't forget that this behavior is having a direct impact upon your purpose and what falls out of your purpose, these handful of things that you're trying to achieve. So it actually made the ability to provide good advice easier as well.
Absolutely. And to get clients to execute and do what they need to do. We'll document those discussions and summarize them into one sort of slide of these are the things that are most important to you. And then we'll pull it out from time to time with clients and just remind them and say, so these are the things that are most important to you. So everything that we do from an advice perspective is in aid of achieving these things.
Mm.
That's all that matters. There is nothing else that matters apart from these things that you have said are most important to you. And I think one way to, if clients were a bit like, oh, what's this guy on about? He's getting a bit, excuse the it's getting a bit wanky on all this stuff, airy fairy, then, the one way to help a client see why is to just kind of be like one option, which is the automatic thing for us to do. And I used to do this, was just be like, oh, I'm not going to go there. They don't like it. It's uncomfortable. I'll stop doing that and I'll answer his tax question or his investment question. But then I started asking myself, hang on a sec. If I'm just honest, right? Honesty is underrated. If I'm just honest and if I just told the client why I'm actually asking that, maybe that would help. And that's what we do now. So we just say, so in order for us to give you the best advice and to help you with your tax and make the best investment decisions, we'll be able to do that far, far better if we know why you want to do it and what is important to you. That will allow us to do our job far better, which means that we're going to help you a lot more. And that's why we insist on understanding those things.
That's so good. That's such a good frame.
So why would they not want to do that then? And then, of course, once they start doing it, they realize, oh, this is actually good stuff. And that's when it kind of goes to that next level of, as you said, engagement, execution, and actually being able to deliver and buy into the whole advice process.
Yeah. And it kind of sets, I guess, a tone, because advice, back in the day, it was more investment focused, and yet ETFs came around and apps and ComSec came around, and it became very easy to execute. And there's certainly very few, I'd imagine, clients or advisors who would put their value behind their value proposition behind a portfolio. And this type of question, this type of engagement, it kind of is a signal to the client as well that they've entered into advice land. Like, if there was ever a question of what is advice, what does a financial planner do, and then you're sitting there in front of them and you're and I thought that framing was really good, just honestly, articulating that you feel that not only as an advisor you'll do a better job, but as a client you'll come along for the process. It's almost, it's like a trigger to the client to say, wow, you now are an advised client. This is the process, and we're starting everything from what it is that you want out of life, and then everything else, all the recommendations are, I guess, motivated from the fact that they're anchoring every single decision, because advice can be difficult from the client's point of view as well. Like, sometimes really difficult, especially at implementation or behavioral change. And so once you've got that really tied to that purpose in life, it made all those decisions a lot easier. And it also allows you, and this is kind of like how I sort of became familiar with you, was that you're able to give away so much more, I guess, free value might be the way to put it, or you're able to sort of expand what it is that isn't advice, or what comes before advice, astronomically. So, for example, and we were having a quick chat before we jumped on the podcast, and one of those things that I think you do really well is you put thought pieces out there on LinkedIn, and thought pieces might be a little bit of a grandiose term for what it is that you're doing, but you're putting ideas and value in a 1,200 character LinkedIn update, which probably, if you didn't have this massive amount of value to give to clients from the moment that they became a client, you probably wouldn't be as forthcoming with, quote unquote, your intellectual property, or what you perceive as, what only clients get. And I feel like, because you've got this really sturdy 20 years honed process, it makes your marketing ability a lot easier as well, which has probably contributed, well, not probably, it definitely contributes to your ability to get attention from the market. I mean, I reached out to you, when we were chatting. I was like, I'd love to get you on a podcast, and it took us a little while to make that happen. But it was one of those things that, even though we rescheduled a handful of times, like, I definitely wanted to hear your opinion on things, because, and it makes so much more sense to me now, because you've got this deep value delivery that it allows you to be so much more confident and prominent with your ideas to the public. So, man, like, I think you're doing a really good job in terms of promoting advice, promoting advisors. And it's, the stuff that you're talking about today, if advisors were to sit down and process, some of the stuff that you've been saying, I think that they could take their quality of advice, they could ratchet it up hugely and rapidly in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, thanks, mate. I mean, again, this is all stuff that, just being picked up little bits and pieces along the way. And, you've got your Bill Backracks, your Jim Stackpools, your Bowens, your Dan Solons, there's so many people that have just got good wisdom out there and experience and been there, done that. So you got to find the things that work for you. But I think what's really important for all of us advisors out there is, in this tough world that we all live in, we have to have confidence in that, we're helping people. We're actually doing a really good job in helping people. And yes, we have to confidently be able to say that and invite them to benefit from that value. We also not need to, but again, and none of this is the way it's got to be done. It's just the way that we do it. But if you can even take it to the level where you say, you know what, not everybody needs advice. Some people can do this themselves. And if they can, great, then they shouldn't pay for advice, right? It's like, going back to the mechanic example, if I can fix my car, then, should I go and pay a mechanic to do it? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe I'll do it because I don't want to spend the time. Maybe I'll do it myself because I can do it. So it's a choice, right? So always position yourself where we're here to offer something to clients, and it may or may not be for everybody. And also, if clients are paying us a fee, and this sort of goes back to the whole, I guess some of the things that are coming in around opt-in and FDS and all that sort of stuff, is if we're adding genuine value, it does force us to look in the mirror a bit. That if we're adding genuine value, then clients will be happy to pay us a fee for what we're doing. Unfortunately, the reality is that some people don't want to pay for good advice. And unfortunately, those people may not get advice from the advisors that need to charge a fee. They might end up getting advice from other sources, whether it's, their super fund, which might be fine. It's probably just going to be limited. Their, the media, their brother-in-law, whatever it is. But we know that people that pay for advice end up in a far better financial position. The studies have shown it. We all know it's true. But we have to be willing to let people go sometimes, because not everyone wants to pay for it, and not everyone sees the value in it. There's another thing that's, because of the purpose and values-based advice that is our intent in everything we do. Again, you've got to have an intent in how you try and do it. But we will tell clients, our job is not to make you rich. Our job is not to make you money. If you want money, then we're probably not a good fit for you. So we want our clients thinking about purpose. We want them thinking about their values and what they're trying to achieve. If all they're thinking about is making more money, then it's probably just not a good fit for the way that we deliver our advice. And you do lose people here and there, prospective clients here and there, because maybe they just want lots of money, which isn't. So that's not a judgment thing. It's not a good or a bad thing. It's just that we find that we have much stronger relationships, and we enjoy those relationships with our clients far more if they're not money driven, but they're purpose driven. Obviously, you need to be generating money, and you need money to deliver on your purpose.
Yeah.
But we start with purpose, not start with money.
Yeah, it was always a weird thing. And because you're a financial planner, and it's kind of weird, you walk into financial planning and you think, I'm here to work with money. And then over time you find out that you're dealing with a lot more than just money. But then you still, over time, if you've been around for a while, you still will get those people that walk in and go, I just want more money. And you try to squeeze them into, you're like, you either got enough assets or enough income to warrant being a client. You do want to be an advised client. And then just for whatever reason, there's just those type of people that, they're just interested. They're like, I don't want any of this hairy-fairy stuff. Just what are you doing with the portfolio? You're like, okay, you're the guy that, comes in every now and again, and I just put that hat on, it's almost like a simplistic, more simpler version of advice. But yeah, it is interesting. I mean, everyone's different. And in terms of your clients, like it's kind of weird. I think always the goal as an advisor is to try to get everyone, obviously not with the same advice, but at least on the same journey to an outcome. So they're at least, buying into a certain process, for example. But sometimes, there's just those people that choose not to. And the
hard thing with that as well is because you get, people come and see an advisor. They don't come and see you, So some people go and see a life coach, right?
Mm.
But people that come and see us have come and seen us because they don't want to go and see a life coach, right? And it's probably more of in America, it's probably much bigger, the whole life coaching, everyone gets therapy, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
In Australia, we're probably not as that way inclined. But a lot of people will seek financial advice. And again, it's because they're not sure what they're after, but they think they should do it. And we end up doing a lot of life coaching with clients, right? When you're a purpose, values-based approach, and clients absolutely love it. So again, it's part of our job, I suppose, if we're taking that approach, if that's how our business run, to show them that there's more to it than just that financial advice. And most clients, I've found, when they engage at that level, they realize, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. It's far more and far deeper than that. And so in our initial client process as well, we tell the stories of our other clients that, we've got clients who have been clients for 10 or 15 years and they pay us lots of money because so we built trust, which takes time. You've got to earn that. They know that we know everything about them, often more than anyone else in their lives. They know that everything that we do is going to be in aid of them achieving everything that's important to them. And they kind of know where they're going through doing, lifelong interactive cash flow modeling and various exercises. They get that confidence to the point where they almost say, look, I know what you're doing. Just keep doing what you're doing. I don't really worry too much about the investments and the tax and all that. Just keep doing what you're doing because it means that we don't have to worry about money anymore.
Yeah.
And so with new clients, we'll often say, look, you're not going to be at that level and you won't understand that, right? But our goal in our engagement is to get you to that point, however long it takes us to get you to that point. So in the beginning of our relationship, the value that you're going to perceive is going to be the tangible stuff like tax and super strategies and returns and risk management and insurance and all that sort of stuff, cash flow management. But after a period of time, you're not going to really care about the intricacies of those things anymore. You just know that they're done, and because they're done and the way we do them, and because we've talked about purpose and we're on the same path to something far deeper in their lives, then they're not going to worry about as much, and it becomes about those bigger picture things is where the value is, which is all the intangible stuff. So to help those clients in the early phases, we explain to them that this is how it's going to work. You're not going to get it yet, but over time you will. And once you get it, it'll be completely different.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that positioning as well. That's really good. So, because sometimes it is a bit too big of a step for, not even sometimes, I guess, the majority of the time, you walk in, you either had an advisor before and it was probably, it was not probably, definitely done in a certain way. It would have been done in the way that the advisor wanted to provide that advice. And it probably wasn't purpose driven, because from my point of view, I don't hear the word purpose in terms of being an upfront part of advice very often. Or on the other side of the coin, perhaps they've never had an advisor before, and they definitely are not expecting to talk about their purpose in life, unless, of course, maybe you've given them some upfront videos or documentation to let them know that that's how you work. But it is a step into the deep end, and I like that idea where you're saying we're going to talk about this, and your life is obviously multifaceted, complex. You've got rational monetary things to look at. You've got emotional and qualitative things to look at. And all that together creates a big map. And at the middle of that map is purpose. But everything else that comes off, from the extremes or the extremities of the purpose is very complex. And it's going to take us a long time to get there. And you might not fully understand it at first, but you will get there. I tell you what, if I went into a financial planner's office and they said that to me, I would feel very secure and I was in safe hands. So that's a really cool client experience, man.
Yeah, it's funny, right? It's just brutal honesty, right? So if you just forgetting about dropping if you just drop all the guards, drop all the walls, and just go, you know what? I can talk to you about what we do and how it helps our clients as much as I want, but you know what? You're not actually going to get it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You're not going to get it. I understand that. That's, how could you? You haven't experienced it.
Yeah.
But once you do, at your own pace, whenever that time is, I have total confidence that you will, you'll absolutely get so much value out of this, and you won't even question anything when you do start getting that value. And if at any point in time you don't think that you're getting that value, then you shouldn't be a client. And that is totally, again, if you can be confident enough to say that because it's true, right? If clients aren't getting value, then they shouldn't be paying us a fee. That's
hands down. Yeah.
That's the way it should be. It doesn't have to be a sales pitch. It's just, we know that this is how it works, and we know that nearly every one of our clients gets this value, and you just don't get it yet, and you don't know what it feels like. Because, as they say, it doesn't matter what you say to a client, it's how you make them feel.
Yeah. That's really good. Considering my limit of knowledge about you before we chatted was your LinkedIn post, it doesn't surprise me at all that I've had such a deep and I feel like I've had financial planning out of this podcast. So, mate, thank you very much. That was really enjoyable. Obviously, you're on LinkedIn. We'll make sure we include your website in the show notes. I'm sure advisors can reach out and say hi if they're ever interested. And Matt, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your insights and your value. And like I said earlier in the podcast, I think advisors listen to this and take on board what you've been saying. I think that they can really improve their advice. So thanks again, man.
No worries, Clint. Thanks for the chat.